Are you not ashamed? Are you not embarrassed? Do you not feel like you should be the laughingstock of an entire bloody city right now? Hell, an entire league? Are you kidding me? Blowing that lead in that game with the amount of time that was left on the clock. Sceptres lose 3-2 to New York in New York, and honestly, it is the most abysmal breakdown and collapse and display of how little this team can handle adversity I have ever bloody seen. The first 15 minutes of this game was, from both teams, awful. Straight up. Neither team could pass. Neither team could break into a zone. The shots were just thrown onto the net. It was garbage. It was pond hockey. Toronto, in the last 5 minutes, finally figured themselves out and we're starting to get a little bit of setup. We're starting to get a little bit of organized pressure. And nothing happened with it. 0-0 at the end of the second period. They came storming in. Very similar. They had the edge of New York because they had actual organization and what appeared to be a game plan. And it finally pays off for them on the penalty kill when Daryl Watts gets a shorthander on a 2-on-1 that she looks off the pass for and just rips it high glove on Osborne. Beautiful stuff. 1-0 in the second. And New York looked like they were kind of starting to get back up to Toronto's level near the end of the second, maybe a little over halfway through. But Kirk is standing tall, and Toronto comes out the end of the second period with a lead. Third period, Toronto actually gets a second goal. Ella Shelton just throws it onto the net, and that is absolutely what she did. You cannot convince me that was a shot that she placed. She threw it on the net. It slipped through between Osborne's leg, pad, skate, whatever, and the post, and managed to get in. And then so soon after, New York gets a great goal on a scramble in front off a good setup. Kirk has basically no chance, and wham bam boom, they're right back in it. And from then on, it was the New York show. Later in the third, they get another one on the power play, on a play that, honestly, Kirk, I love how much she plays the puck. I think she's very good at playing the puck. The pucks were going way up high off the glass all night long, and every single time she was playing it above the top of the boards, I was getting nervous, and that finally came back to bite her in the ass, and it went right over the glass. The least necessary penalty I've ever seen taken, especially when there was not the pressure on her. She had no reason to do that, but it got thrown over the glass into the crowd. And New York capitalizes on the power play, tie it up, and it doesn't take long for them to take the lead off a really nice tip by Casey O'Brien from a point shot to keep the puck up high and go over Kirk's blocker, and that's where the game would end. That was the most egregious, abysmal, horrendous collapse that they simply have no excuse for. Reagan Kirk has been the third best goalie in the league this year. Did you know that? She had a .931 save percentage going into this game, which is only behind Aaron Frankel and Anne-Renee Desbiens. Reagan Kirk, she doesn't get the recognition that those two get, probably because of the team in front of her. Look, I want to have faith in this Toronto team. I really do. I think they have some potential. I think their bottom six being rookies is becoming more and more of a detriment to them. I think that their weird defense situation since they signed Ella Shelton, it's felt a little bit confused since then, to be honest. But this is a game they needed to win, especially when they dropped their last one to Ottawa. You know who New York didn't have in the lineup tonight? Colton Kova, who was their biggest name, maybe second biggest behind Fillier, but huge part of that team, huge goal-scoring presence. Didn't have Taylor Girard, who has had an incredible year, been able to score a lot. And Savannah Norcross got put on LTIR today. So New York is bringing in reserve players. They're making trades. You know who they did have in their lineup? Claire DeGeorge, who Toronto gave to them for nothing. This was the least excusable loss of their entire season, much less in regulation. They got nothing out of this. They had a 2-goal lead halfway through the third, and they got nothing out of this. Do they want to make the playoffs? Do they care? Are they interested? Like, what the hell are they doing? It is so pitiful, the effort they put forth the moment they face a little bit of adversity. They get scored on one time and they fall apart. But you know what that doesn't happen? The opposite. If they get a goal, they don't carry that momentum through. They don't use it to dominate whoever they're playing against. They can't. They're not capable. It's so insane how laughable the effort of this team can be. Like, you are fighting for your playoff lives. They are 2 points out of a playoff spot right now. 2 points behind Ottawa. And guess what? This was their game in hand against Ottawa. This was the extra chance they had. They're trying to fend off New York with this game, but also leapfrog Ottawa. If they get one more point against Ottawa in this game, they'll get into that 4th place spot. And then if their records are identical for the rest of the season, Toronto gets that spot. Hell, if they win it in overtime, they would get into the spot on the tie-breaking procedure, which is regulation wins. But no, they have to blow the game in the 3rd period. How much more does Kirk have to do for you? Emma Molte, Renata Fast, stop taking dumb, stupid, idiotic, unnecessary penalties for the love of God. I know you are fan favorites on this team and in this city. Fast, I know you wear a letter and lead the league in ice time. You're defending Defender of the Year. You're reigning with that award. Both of them cross-checked a player in the numbers for no reason at all. If the game was getting rough and heated and aggressive and violent, I might give them a bit of grace. I might understand that it's a heat of the moment type of thing. That wasn't the case at all. This game, considering the implications it had in the standings, was shockingly tame. Shockingly tame. It was very well behaved. But those two can't bloody resist themselves, and they just hate going a game without sitting for 2 minutes in the box. Clean your act up. Motte, you're your team's first line center, or second line center, however they get deployed. It's basically even. You're the team's aggressive speed goal scoring line. And you're gonna do that? Fast, you're an integral part of the penalty kill. You play like 30 minutes a night. Your team relies on you heavily, especially when Monroe isn't in the lineup to kind of help balance whatever the hell you're doing out. Stay out of the freaking box. Not to mention, New York, their power play, dog awful. Dog bloody awful. Yours is worse. operating at 8.9% going into this game. Less than 10%, less than 9% power play going into this game. And New York gives you none, first of all. But second of all, you managed to kill off almost all of their power plays and even get a goal in one of their power plays to cut it short. But you know what you also had? 2 breakaways immediately following one of their power plays. 2. Woods and Fast. The puck spat out to center ice right as they were coming out of the box. Golden opportunity. Nobody in their way. Fast shoots it right into Osborne's glove, and Woods misses the net. Are you kidding me? How many golden opportunities does this team need to give you for you to decide you feel like winning? For you to decide you care? Like, this is so unjustifiable given the opportunities they had. If one more time I have to see a player on a rush, on a 1-on-1, on a 3-on-2, if I see one more time a player cut in with the puck right into a defender and lose possession immediately, I'm going to become the bloody Joker. Like, Troy Ryan has been saying the main narrative this entire season has been shoot more. That's what he's trying to get them to do, is shoot more. Keep things simple and take your shots. And guess what happens? It worked this game. Watts just plain ripped it to get the first goal. Shelton threw it on net to get the second goal. Did it work last game against Ottawa? No. But it's also against Gwyneth Phillips, and they didn't have anyone in front. I went over that last video. It was not well executed in that idea. Just getting pucks on net sometimes isn't enough. They do still have to be like threatening opportunities. But the amount of chances they throw away because they feel like they want to try and dangle someone or deke someone, or I don't know, do they just have hubris? Are they just cocky? For what? You're not in the playoffs. What are you cocky for? Where does the confidence come from? What do you think you're all hot stuff? You're high and mighty because you're in 5th? And what, you got knocked out by the team that won the cup the past 2 years? In the first round? Where does this swagger come from that you think you can do it all? I can't count how many times I saw that this game. I can't count how many times I've seen it throughout the season as a whole. They need to simplify it. The players on an individual level need to cool it with the showmanship and do what's going to work. Do what's going to give them a chance. Trying to put the puck through a defender's feet and having that not work and then having that lead to an odd man rush the other way isn't giving you a chance. In fact, it's doing about as much of the opposite as that is capable of doing. I don't know how many more ways I can say clean your act up. And, like, I don't know, maybe don't fall to pieces when you get a goal scored on you. No wonder Reagan Kirk is the 3rd best goalie in the league. She has to be. She lets in one goal, the team becomes a puddle. They become a shell of themselves. It looks like they just woke up and they're on the front lines of Eep. Like, what do they think is gonna happen? That's how hockey works. Sometimes you get scored on. You gotta score more. But you're not really capable of that, are ya? You can't score more than 4 goals on a goalie. And by the way, the one time you did that this season, you lost the game anyway. What more needs to happen? What more needs to be told? Who needs to take even more charge of this locker room than I have the confidence that Turnbull is? Troy Ryan obviously needs to go, But I don't know if this league is okay with mid-season firings. I would hazard to say that Gina Kingsbury also needs to get the hell out. But that's a larger conversation for a different day. But, like, you play New York one more time, you play Ottawa one more time, you have no cushion. There's no buffer zone. You have absolutely no wiggle room in any of the play you have. You barely had any to begin with, but you did have a bit. You had a little bit. You had the slightest amount of just extra space that you could work with in case something doesn't quite go the way you want it to. And this went catastrophically not the way you wanted it to. 2 games in a row that you let a team you are directly competing against just blow you out of the water in embarrassing fashion. Ottawa shuts you out at home, and New York has a late third period comeback when you just cave in on yourselves. I don't know what you expect to happen. Also, let's say you do make the playoffs. Let's say by some miracle, you come out of the next 3 games and you make it into the postseason. Is this the performance we're going to expect? Is this what we have to look forward to? This barely scoring any goals? This leaving the defense up to Kirk? Is this what we've got? If that's the case, I don't want to make the playoffs. If this is what you're going to offer us, I want to get a decently high draft pick, and I want to get a little bit more experience. Having our entire bottom 6 be rookies is a joke. It's obviously not worked. I don't know why we would have expected it to. And the players that you're leaning on in your top 2 lines, like, they can only do so much. Blair Turnbull was more on the defensive side of her 2-way game last season. Do you remember her line for the majority of last year? It was her, Skamura, and Comfort, I believe. That was their shutdown line. It was the third line, and they played to make sure the enemy team couldn't do diddly squat when they were on the ice. Now Turnbull's had to step into a more offensive role, and she's been great at that. She's tied for the team lead in goals with Watts after her goal today. But, I don't know, it doesn't help when Emma Malte, who's supposed to be one of your offensive powerhouses, always gets put in the box. It doesn't help that most of your D-core is offensive defenders. Fast as an offensive defender. Monroe, I would say, is a 2-way. Harmon is an offensive defender. Flanagan is a 2-way. I think she leans more to the offensive side. And Shelton, I think, leans more to the offensive side as well. So who are your true blue, defensive defenders? If this player is on the ice, a goal is not happening. 0 chance. Shelbin is the one who's regularly in the lineup. Because other than that, you have Baskin, who is on a reserve list. And you have Condis, who is a healthy scratch unless she's basically forced to not be due to injuries. You need your defenders to defend, and you need your offense to put the puck in the net. And neither of those are happening. Their defense is trying to make the offense happen, and their goalie is having to play their defense. This game was laughable. Beginning, middle, end. There is no reason they shouldn't have won. There is no reason they shouldn't have gotten 3 points out of this game. There is no reason they shouldn't be back in a playoff spot right now. And yet, they have the exact same amount of points they had at the beginning of today. And that is unacceptable. If this is how you react to adversity, if this is how you react to a game that gives you even the slightest challenge, and this game, again, pretty even, but Toronto had control. But they got challenged a little bit, and once they got challenged, they fell to pieces. It is unacceptable. No part of this should be allowed to even vaguely be replicated. If another game like this happens, if they come out in another game and blow another lead where they have the control, where the enemy team is missing so many key pieces to their roster, they deserve everything that's coming to them. The whole narrative around Toronto, Ottawa, and New York is that they control their own destiny. And Toronto seems to see their destiny as the gold plan. That's all for this one. Thank you for watching. Like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want more. There are 3 games left, and they have given themselves way more work to do than they needed to.